We have three speakers today. Um, Pooja is the head of people and learning at Reap Benefit. She's a computer science professional, is dedicated to fostering social change at a grassroots level. Committed to achieving equity across diverse social and cultural strata, especially for marginalized genders, she brings a wealth of experience. Having spent 6 years catalyzing alumni impact at Teach for India in Mumbai, Pooja witnessed stark inequities in marginalized communities, reinforcing her commitment to the social sector and the potential of the country's youth. At Reap Benefit, she excels in managing people, learning, systems, and processes. In her leisure, Pooja enjoys reading, exploring nature's hidden gems, playing board games, and challenging patriarchy. I was chatting with Pooja and I was asking, how do you do all this? And it looks like she has time for leisure after this. We should get secrets of this afterwards. Yeah. So Tataji is the Employee Impact Program Manager at Salesforce. Tataji manages the Employee Impact Program, has been managing it for 4 years, holds a master's degree in Mass Comm and Journalism from the University of Hyderabad. With over a decade of experience in volunteering, employee giving, non-profit engagement, and project management, he prioritizes education and skill development for the underprivileged. Tataji actively works to diminish the digital gap and promote fairness for students from marginalized backgrounds. Renowned for his ability to engage employees in community service, he is dedicated to fostering corporate volunteering for a more equitable world. So we decided this topic early on, and we've been trying to get someone from Salesforce to come. Just got confirmed. So thank you for being here, Tataji. We really tried hard to make you be here. So I hope it's worth it for all of you here.
Drives, plantation drives, making sure that there's clean drinking water. Eventually, he realized that the stubble burning issue is very prevalent. We all know about it. So he spoke to a lot of villagers, farmers in his village, across different other villages. And eventually that led to like 10,500 acres of land being saved from stubble burning by different activities and initiatives that he took along with his other friends in the community. And then eventually he was recognized by the Punjab Legislative Assembly. The second example I want to give is about Shriya. She has been with Reap Benefit since she was in her 7th or 8th grade. Again, started her journey by solving smaller issues about plastic usage and how does that hamper the environment. Went on to set up some 4 chapters of youth across the country where again different kinds of volunteering initiatives were taken, and now she leads her own organization called Sitara Akka, which uses localized language, like how do we use regional language Kannada in Karnataka for simplifying math and science curriculum for students in government schools specifically. If you see on the side, this is something called as Changemaker Portfolio. This was one other way, like a lot of our youth right now can, like, except for Shreya comes from an urban background, but a lot of folks that we work with come from tier 2, tier 3 cities, and they are not able to showcase or like articulate what their impact has been. So how do we sort of create a space or use technology to bring that impact out where they talk about, where they can showcase the impact, they can showcase the skill they have built, what kind of actions that they have taken. This is one way for us to incentivize action taking on ground. So if you see all the examples where you can see smaller actions essentially is leading to agency, leading to change making, leading to some active problems being solved in the locality. Now, how does this action actually happen on the ground? Like what enables people to take action on the ground? So there are 5 key levers. Like in the last 10 years, all the efforts and whatever we've observed in the ecosystem, our learnings have been boiled down to these 5 key levers. We feel if we provide this in some kind of permutation combination to the youth, depending on their need, it enables them to take action on the ground. One is just network of local mentors. It's a hard thing to do. Nobody takes me seriously. Can somebody guide me? So we have a host of local mentors who can help them to do this. Again, it's a lonely journey. Having somebody walk the journey with me, somebody who understands my struggle. So peer community plays a huge role. A lot of them are not able to do it because they don't know how to do it. So access to repository of solutions that already exist, campaigns that have already been run, localized hyperlocal data, So that also enables them to take action on the ground. And lastly, consistent nudges. It's not like when you think of civic issues and climate issues, these are not in your face right now. Like your life can still go on if you don't solve them at this point at least. So how do we keep giving them different kinds of nudges so that they continue working on this journey? And this is where technology plays a role for us. Like through a chatbot based tech platform, we send these nudges. Now here is where again we see how gamification plays a role. So based like youth right now, we all understand it's a very evolving space. Today's youth looks very different from how youth looked 3 years, 4 years ago. Attention span is low. Different people come into the volunteering space for different kinds of incentives. Again, the learnings for us allowed us to bucket these incentives or why they come in these 4 categories. I want to do this. I want to solve problem, make some change because I get recognized. I get some rewards, and that's really exciting and that's great. So how do we think of activities that allow people to get this? Then there is financial. Like if I learn these skills, I'll get a good job and I can sustain. Like again, tier 2, tier 3 cities, that's a big thing for them. So financial, I run an organization, I want funds for it. So I'm solving these issues so that I can showcase what I can do and I can raise funds. Learning, because I want to, again, like unlock certain skills in me. I want to know how I can talk to authority. I want to know how can I mobilize people on the ground or tell a better story, raise funds. And the last piece is altruistic, right? Like I just want to do something good for my society. I feel very passionate about the town that I was born in, and I want to do something good about it. So all our activities, different kinds of spaces that we create, different kind of experiences that we create, either cater to either one of these emotions or a combination of this, depending on where we feel the youth is coming from. And at all points of time, we think of how do we keep evolving and adapting. You can design many gamification techniques, but understanding the user in the space that they are coming in, what do they get excited about, and then sort of figuring that out in your experience plays a huge role. So Changemaker portfolio, leaderboard, these are certain things that we do to incentivize problem action taking on the ground. Yeah, that's about it. I can speak more when Harshad asks more questions.
I think that was a wonderful use case of how nonprofits can leverage gamification for creating self-sustaining volunteering models. Now we want to bring a corporate perspective also. To understand how corporates look at gamification. So, Tataji, can you?
Thank you, Doctor, for introduction. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope we are all okay. I try to keep it as short as possible. And I'm going to talk about employee impact. So, the Salesforce giving back and volunteering model. My team is called Employee Impact. So, we focus on employee volunteering, employee-inspired giving, and disaster resilience as well. Third part, I'm not going to focus much on because that might not be very relevant here. But I'll focus on the journey of our employees as we talk about gamification. So this is let's start with our vision. We focus on we make sure that every employee is inspired and enabled to take actions that create sustainable and need-based community impact. So we want to enable employees, inspire them to make sure that they create a sustainable impact in the community. That's the focus as an organization. So we engage about 85,000 employees across the globe, always trying to make sure that we create engaging and more interesting volunteering opportunities. Also trying to balance that with making sure that we are creating a meaningful impact. In terms of the impact that we've created, this is just about employee-inspired giving we're talking about. Since the inception, Salesforce started in 1999. Since then, we are celebrating 25 years anniversary next week. 7th March is when we're celebrating Salesforce birthday. Our employees have given out $166 million in terms of employee-inspired giving. This is not a donation that company gave. This is the employees' donation to the community. Along with that, our employees have given 8.7 million hours in terms of volunteering. So that's the kind of impact employees can do. And we're always looking at how do we make sure that we create these interesting opportunities for them so that we can use the potential to create some impact in the community. I think some of you understand our 1-1-1 model at Salesforce, where we invest 1% of our time, 1% of our equity, and 1% of our product from Salesforce back into the community. This is what we do as a company, and this is a principle that we've been following since the inception. You move on to the next one. Thank you. This is just the impact in India in the last last 1 year. In India, we've been given out about $355,000 in terms of employee-inspired giving, and 94,000 or 95,000 volunteering hours have been spent to support the communities in India, and about 6,000 employees are engaging in the volunteering and giving programs. We have about 13,000 employees in India now, and we're growing rapidly, and we're looking at scale models, looking at how do we engage a larger corporate audience to make sure that they have the potential opportunities they like and the causes that they can support. So that's where our model of gamification comes into place. So when an employee joins Salesforce, their journey begins with the benefits the company offers. So every employee gets a 7 days of paid time off to do volunteering. It is a paid time off where during the work or any time of the week you can go and support any cause or any volunteering event that you wish to. Every employee when they join, they get that, and then along with that they also get 5,000 USD as a matching grant. So I think some of you understand matching grant, and just to be clear, matching grant is where you as an employee want to support an organization. Let's say you donate 100 rupees. The organization will give another 100 rupees to support the cause that you're passionate about. So up to 5,000 USD with no minimum limit, any employees can utilize throughout the year. It changes every year. So every new fiscal year, it again refreshes. So you have another 5,000 to support a non-profit. So when they start this journey, so what do they do? How do they begin their journey? So when an employee starts, when they sign up on our employee impact platform, they start earning milestones. So we have milestones starting from first volunteering event, first volunteering match, or 5 events, 10 hours, 15 hours of volunteering that you have done, or when you have done something around your team volunteering, you're leading something. So we create a journey for a volunteer as they start, which they can see, their teams can see, and the company can see. In all our internal Salesforce platforms, people can see and any employee and what kind of volunteering they're doing, what kind of rewards they're earning. So depending on their rewards and what kind of work they do, we categorize on we try to measure our engagement and impact. We categorize them on 3 different characteristics or personalized characters that we say are we don't have that here, but so we characterize on 3 different things. One is the relationship builders. When we say relationship builders, these are the volunteers who wants to go back to the same organization they're passionate about. They keep giving back to that organization in terms of giving, creating volunteering opportunities, or bringing their team to support that organization. The second category is community builders. So community champions we call, who would like to just give back to any cause that they wish to. They have that time. They don't mind supporting a variety of causes. So we categorize them as the community champions. And third one is the global collaborators, where these employees wants to collaborate at a global level, supporting company-wide events, global campaigns that we run. And as they do this, they earn their milestones. So we have about 20 different milestones that in the previous slide I showed. When an employee earns about 7 different milestones, any 7 milestones out of 20, they become something called an employee impact trailblazer. So they get a reward and a rank. They'll see this journey, and once they become an employee impact trailblazer, they unlock a certain rewards that they can use. So 2 important things is, along with the 7 days of paid time off and matching grants, we have 2 more grants that they can utilize once they become an impact trailblazer. One is the impact grants. So every quarter, all the impact trailblazers who are added to a quarterly draw out of the entire group. We select 1,000 random employees across the globe to give out a 500 USD grant to them. Again, this is a reward that they can utilize to support any non-profit that they are passionate about or they're already working with. So every employee already, once they're selected, they get these grants on their platform that they can donate to any non-profit. We use Benivity as one of the hubs that we use. That's a platform where all the volunteers can see their progress, can see their rewards, and what kind of impact they're creating. And the second one is the volunteering impact grant. This is a bigger grant where it could be an individual employee, or it could be a team which has done exceptional job towards one particular cause throughout that year. So we do a selection process for it, where the teams will submit their applications, and at the end we select about 25 of these grants, which is a bigger 20,000 USD grant that will go to one particular organization that they've been working with. Here we look at what kind of volunteering they're doing with it, how engaging is it supporting the cause, is it aligned to the cause's focus areas. So that's the rewards point of it. So, and then once they become impact trailblazer, that's the kind of rewards they receive. Yeah. So we also have 4 quarterly. So 4 different quarterly campaigns that we run. Global Volunteer Month, which is running now. Every March we celebrate Global Volunteer Month. We create every office, every day will have one or the other volunteering event for employees to kickstart the year. We start our financial year from February. So in the first quarter, we have Global Volunteer Month. Second quarter, we have Connect for Good. Third, Career Spark. And fourth is Season of Giving. Season of Giving is the last campaign where we want to close the year strong. And then we have, other than the general volunteering that we do, we also have a pro bono program where employees, so we have a lot of tech folks, we have a lot of software engineers, we have developers, app builders. So we want to make sure that their skills are utilized to support the non-profits across the globe. So about 56,000 non-profits across the globe use Salesforce, Philanthropy Cloud and Education Cloud. Our employees can volunteer to support these non-profits to implement Salesforce for them, or help them bring the data together, or help them improve what they're already doing, and help them digitalize their entire processes. And this is the hub I've already talked about. And all right, as part of the scaling process, like I mentioned, we have 13,000 folks in India, and we're rapidly growing. And we have a very lean team to support in terms of volunteering and giving. We want to make sure that we scale our programs as the employees are growing. So we have something called Employee Impact Councils. We have 3 in APAC, 7 in EMEA, and 16 in EMER, where we have a group of employees who would pick up these initiatives. They become our employee champions to promote these events in their teams, as a company-wide, or in their regions as well. This helps us scale our entire programs to make sure that every employee at Salesforce get an opportunity to volunteer. I think I'll close it here, and just a closing remark I would just want to say, in terms of as a whole, gamification as a whole, our idea is to create a journey for all the employees, starting from where, even if you're just a new volunteer just starting, or you've worked with a few organizations before, we want to make sure you see a growth, you see rewards, and you see your work is visible to all your teams and the company, so that you're inspired to come back and do more. You're inspired to support the causes that you have. And we want to make sure at Salesforce we also have a lot of rewards to make sure that you have the right resources to connect to the community. Yeah, I think that's where I hand it over to Harshit.
Really amazing use cases you presented, Pooja. Yours on how non-profits can really use, and Tataji, yours on how corporates look at gamification. I have a question for both of you. When the volunteering ecosystem is still thinking about, how to get permissions to give volunteering day offs and things like that, or how to retain volunteers, why did you think about having a platform like this? What made you think? Do you think there are any unique reasons that you have adopted such gamifications?
I mean, for us, because we work with youth, and over the last 10 years, we've worked, I think it was really important to understand what does the youth want, what is their interest area, what does excite them. And I think for us, it's not important whether the problem gets solved or not, whether the problem gets fixed or not. But the important part is that the youth goes through the problem solving journey many number of times, so that they keep activating certain skills. And once that agency is what it's proven is that as long as the agency is activated, something good will keep happening in the ecosystem. Now, for that to happen, for the youth to continue being on that journey, what does excite them? What does keep them engaged with problem solving? And that was really essential for us to identify. So Kuldeep, with his experience, he's the co-founder, and with his experience, we were able to boil it down to then, because we do need to understand what's the framework behind it, so that we continue taking similar actions. There was then coming down and saying, why are people taking action? Let's try and understand that more based on the kind of actions they are taking, based on the feedback that they are giving. And then, therefore, we were able to, at the end, it's user centricity for us. So whatever ticks for the youth, we'll keep doing it.
So I think for me, 2 keywords that kind of hit my mind was, one is youngsters, youth, and the second thing was something that's engaging for them, right? So I think gamification, we keep having a lot of discussions. I'm sure maybe in VolCon also you had a session about how to engage Gen Z. And I think gamification is one of the best ways to keep Gen Zs motivated. And now I think Gen Zs have already entered the volunteering ecosystem, and they're actively taking part in it. So I think such models will really play a very, very important role. Same question to you, Tataji. Also, I want an perspective. Do you think, again, when you see a company, you have people of different age groups, right? Do you think the platform is kind of making some difference on the Gen Zs who are entering your corporate?
Yeah, I'll start with the first question, Arshit. So Salesforce, we are a tech company. We are always looking at innovative solutions, creating technology to make sure that what we do makes sense to people and engage. So that's where the idea of creating this reward-based journey of volunteering came for Salesforce, and also in the beginning itself, the founder of Salesforce, Mark Benioff, his idea is to make sure that his company gives back consistently, starting from the beginning to no matter how big we grow. So to continue doing what he's doing, to give back to the community as we scale, it's not easy to do it in a old, traditional methods. We need to have more innovative solutions where instead of we creating something for employees, if you enable them to do something on their own, that is more impactful, that is more scalable. That's where the whole idea of gamification or creating that journey for employees came into place. And being the advantage of technology company, we were able to create and integrate that into our systems. That really worked for us. And to your second question, in terms of appealing it to the younger audience, I think I'd say yes. And we've been seeing rapidly growing numbers in terms of engagement. I think we would agree during the COVID, there's been a slight slower in terms of growth. But in terms of adoption to the whole idea of gamified or virtual approach worked really well. We all had to operate on it. And we have seen more adoption to the entire platform and the idea than before. While the impact was a little slow, but after that, in the last couple of years, we have seen a very increasing growth towards people adopting this idea and taking up this journey. And I have this. So we also run an introductory sessions for all the onboardees. So the first day they join Salesforce, along with their regular HR processes, we have 1 hour of volunteering event for them. And we introduce our culture of giving back to the new employees, new onboardees, and say, hey, this is what we do at the company, and this is the resources that you have. And I see the most of my questions that I spend every day answering questions from these people. Hey, how do I get started? This seems really interesting. Can I know a little bit about it that I can lead my team in? And I am proud to say, and most of the champions that we have who are leading amazing volunteering events for their teams are the youngsters who just joined their teams or who just began in their team. So that way, I'd say it's really working for us.
Perfect. I think that's great. One of the keywords, again, I took away from you is empowerment or enablement. So by using such models, you're kind of empowering or enabling your employees, right? So sometimes what happens, being in a corporate, the CSR person itself becomes a blocker for employees to go and volunteer. The reason is a CSR person, again, has certain capacity and they can't organize more and more events. So using models like gamification, I can remove myself from the driver's seat, give employees a support system through which they can sit in the driver's seat and run things. So that's awesome. Pooja, a quick question. When did you introduce this model, and how do you differentiate? How was things volunteering before this model was introduced? How was it after it introduced?
Right. I mean, honestly, the youth really don't need to know this. So it was never introduced to them like, oh, this is how we will roll out the incentives. I think it's more for us to be more intentional about what the youth need. So I think when it was introduced to the team, though, it was really, really helpful. Earlier, I think it was happening, but there was less of an intentionality. It was happening intuitively. So whoever was able to pick up the intuition of what the kind of youth they work with, they were able to do it very well. But over the time, we also realized there needs to be some kind of framework, some kind of understanding of what actually works. So when we introduced it to now the team who actually works with these mobilizers on the ground, it's been helpful for the team also to see, what is exciting them. When you roll out one thing, and so data analysis plays a huge role behind this. So we get to see for which nudge, which kind of collective, as in collection of youth is responding in what manner. What is that telling me about, say, people in Bangalore or youth in Bangalore versus youth in Punjab? Interestingly, technology, I mean, it's obvious. Technology plays a huge role, huge incentive in Bangalore. Like a lot of youth want to come and build technology-based solutions versus in Punjab, grassroots, like doing something actively on the ground, campaigning is a lot more exciting for them. So doing more of those in Punjab versus doing more of tech-based boot camps in Bangalore really helps in the team to strategize and understand what to do. There is some rhyme to all the madness that happens on the ground. It looks very, it looks like, oh, there are 100 things y'all are doing, but the team sort of is coming to understand what is the structure behind this madness.
Yeah, I really like the point on structure and data analytics that you spoke about. So in traditional volunteering methods, what we do is we generally calculate number of hours a person spends. But here, I think we are not calculating number of hours. Maybe that's a metric still, but it really depends on what kind of actions these people are taking. And Tataji actually spoke about volunteering journey, right? You start off by volunteering maybe for 8 hours or 1 hour, and then you graduate slowly. So this entire process, if you see, as a company or as a non-profit trying to encourage volunteering, you get to see which person is at which level of this graduation scale. And you as a company, also your role can become, how do I take somebody who's at level 1 to level 5 or level 10? So how do I make somebody who's just volunteering for 1 hour to volunteer for 10 hours, or somebody who is just running an event to run a campaign? So data really helps you. So that's another very interesting point. Same question for you. How do you think it was before gamification was introduced and currently?
Yeah, so I think I've answered it a little bit before. So before the idea of the gamification, or where we started enabling employees to do things on their own just by providing resources, traditionally it has to be always someone doing it for them, right? You create an opportunity, always people looking for, do I get a new communication from a CSR person or a volunteering person? We have two different categories. So I am a volunteering person and we have a CSR person separately. I think which is also a good thing that we have an extra resources. If that's how it is, it would take a lot of time. It might not be as impactful as we are growing, right? So when we started this, the journey of reward based or enabling employees to do things on their own, and give them an access to a lot of resources that they can use. I think that changed a lot. The engagement has increased quite a lot. And this year we're looking at meeting a 10 million goal of volunteering hours. So while we talk about volunteering hours, we just don't, while that looks like one of the metrics that we look at, there is another way we look at in terms of engagement and what kind of impact our employees are creating. You talked about different levels of volunteers. Now, how do we look at taking them to a next level? What do we do for them? So how do we do it? So when we look at our milestones gives us an idea or insight into what each employee is interested in. So when we see a repeat engagement is something that employees going back to the same organization, donating to that organization, or working with their board, or bringing their team to support it. And we say, hey, this particular employee is passionate about one particular cause or one particular organization. What can we do to support him to grow there? And we look at a community champion. They are interested in variety of volunteering events. So are they looking for more events? Do we look at creative ways of bringing in more opportunities for these people? So that's how we look at, is our engagement, whether it's working or what can we do at the next steps.
Got it. That's a very interesting thing, the impact milestones that you spoke about. Also, I was attending one session before lunch, and there was an interesting question that came up from somebody from a corporate. So when do you give t-shirts and when do you give, rewards, right? So what happens is you can also tie your rewards with your impact milestones. So you tell them that, you hit this milestone and you can unlock certain rewards. That reward can be a $500 grant or maybe a t-shirt or a pullover or whatever. So what is happening is you're trying to differentiate people who volunteer maybe once in a 3 months or once in a 6 months to people who very seriously volunteer and graduate to upper levels. So yeah, that can become a differentiator. Pooja, question to you. What are some of the challenges or pitfalls that you see when, you have models like gamification? Because what happens is, volunteering is a very personal thing. There's a lot of emotions attached to it, right? So how does your platform overcome? Does it kill that entire emotional thing? Does it make it too competitive or something? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. I mean, one is obviously like sometimes one of the other sides of the spectrum is then it becomes more about the reward more per se than the larger either whatever purpose is for them, right? And again I'm saying, like, it's not about how many people have changed policies or societies in their ecosystem. It's more about how many youth have taken actions and what kind of skills they have activated. because that is the focus, we don't worry about it so much. But yeah, the flip side is then it becomes a lot more about the competition. But if done well, it's also fun. Like fun is a very important aspect of everything. Like it has for youth, it has to be fun. Otherwise, it's not going to be engaging. So while it makes it fun, it can also take it to another level where it becomes I'm just going to do it for the sake of it. The other thing is that like from a team's or from an org point of view, you can think of 100 ways of gamification, like, and there are so many cool apps out there with AI coming in. There are multiple things that you can do, and there's a very good chance that you get carried away by that. Versus what does the user at the ground need? They may like, yeah, you right now. I've heard, like, I've seen many places where Bluetooth speakers is becoming like one big incentive or reward example. But there is no point giving Bluetooth speakers to the young folks who barely have a phone that supports it. So then, like, you can get carried away by these things as well. So, like, how do you keep the user centricity? Like, how do you keep the user in the center and then think rewards from that angle? Is something, like, I feel like one, it could go into just gamification for the sake of it, and it just becomes a lot of competition.
Got it. Interesting. The usual gamification that we really see is maybe your Starbucks loyalty program or a airline loyalty program. You see how they keep making you add lot of points, and then you start unlocking rewards, right? So gamification is nothing but that. Tataji, a question for you. How do you measure success of gamified volunteering initiatives? Do you have any metrics that you prioritize while looking at such models?
Yeah, again, our metric is twofold. One is the volunteering hours that we look at. Again, we are trying to reduce how we look at hours, and then we're focusing more on the milestones here. So that becomes our employee impact milestones becomes our metric to measure volunteering, and what kind of volunteering our employees are also doing. So we've already, I think, talked about a little bit before, where we understand that gives us an insight into what kind of events our employees are interested in, or what kind of events are volunteering programs they're passionate about. That gives us an insight into what can we create for them next year, right? So that becomes our biggest metric to look at. Okay, this is the personality, this is the kind of impact our employees are focusing on. So let's create more on this side, and then we look at what are the gaps. So we have about 20 impact milestones. So we will have a data around, okay, these are the milestones that are not earned by employees, or these are the milestones that are the least earned. And then we look at the reasons behind it, the what cost and what worked and what didn't work. And then we try to create our programs in the coming year or the following year to make sure that we address those gaps and create something that is actually more meaningful, or that is something that is connecting employees more.
Got it. What role do you think technology has to play in gamification? Because a lot of nonprofits definitely will come up with the question that we don't have technology to bring up gamification. But Pooja, what is your take on that?
I think it's working, right? You can hear me? Okay. I mean, we do use technology a lot to drive gamification. Our technology, the thing with technology, I mean, this is, I don't know how many of you are from social space, but open source, digital public good, like these are all buzzwords right now in the social space. So ours is also, like, our technology platform is open source. The reason also the way we built it is low code, and something that can be accessible. So it's WhatsApp based, chatbot based technology platform. It's something that actually many organizations can do it. There are a lot of resources actually available out there. We also had a lot of heavy systems before, and so slowly we've migrated to something that's more accessible. One, for us to build, also for the youth to access from across different parts of the country. But it has made it very easy for us to reach Tier 2, Tier 3 folks. Everybody has a phone which has access to WhatsApp. Everybody knows how to use it. therefore that plays a huge role. All the activities, incentives, etc. are rolled out through those. The nudges that I was speaking about are rolled out through chatbot. So technology does play a huge role. It with technology and this understanding of incentives, I think what Tataji was also speaking earlier, like our engagement rates have gone higher because of that. We were surprised actually. We weren't sure whether it'll work with tier 2, tier 3 cities, but it has shown good results.
Got it. Yeah. So I think now I'll move on to the questions from the audience. So the first question, okay, it's not a question, it's something else. Okay, the first question for you, Taraji, have you done any study on increasing in volunteering through gamification?
Yeah, I think a global team has done a study. I think it's about 4 years ago, and that's where the idea around bringing. But again, this is this is not an external study around, but this is more on the internal side. We have 85,000 strong employee base, so that gives you a huge data to work with. So there's a research done, and then that's where the entire model is worked on.
Got it. So Karthi, that was your question. So have you got the answer? Perfect. Thank you. The second question from Shubham. What are some things to keep in mind while creating gamification? What all factors can be included which motivate people to volunteer / contribute more? Who wants to take? Yeah, whoever wants.
I can start and then you can add. So, one thing with gamification that we have to keep in mind is that you can create fun and interactive engagements, but it's so easy to be lost in that fun side of it than going more on the impact side. How do we combat that? So I think what we do or what we focus on is making sure that all the programs that are gamified or the engagements that are gamified are aligned to our organization's vision. So at Salesforce, we focus on education and climate justice. So these are two important things for us. We want to make sure that the impact is visible in every step of the way as the volunteer. That keeps a reminder towards, while this is fun, we want to make sure this is impactful. So finding that balance between that is really important.
Shubham, did it answer your question? Pooja, your perspective on it.
I mean, like I said earlier also, like the user being in the center makes the most, like what Tataji was also saying, you can think of many ideas and there are many ways in which you can gamify things, but what does really tick with your user? With youth, there are very specific things like rewards, recognition, not just with peer, but with authority makes a lot of like interest for them. Authority also, which kind of authority makes a lot of difference. Being recognized in the peer network, like we can just recognize them through a chatbot, but that will not make a difference if we as big a difference as it would make in a WhatsApp group, because then everybody else is also seeing them. So those kinds of things, like it's really important to understand why will your stakeholder say yes to doing something and why will they say no to something, and then designing your gamification process around that makes a lot of sense. And the last thing that I spoke about, the last slide about emotional, financial, altruistic, and learning, like I think incentives in these specific areas have sort of worked for us.
May add a little bit on the reward side as well. You have something. Good.
One additional question to that, right? Like someone earlier was saying that like if we keep on repeating activities, like it becomes boring, right? And I think sales with the gamification is you keep on changing how frequently you change those aspects. You can add on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Depending on kind of action that they are taking, if they are earlier, like it's very similar to what Tataji also said. Like there's a journey. If you take one action, you get recognized. Then you take a couple of more actions, you get some materialistic reward. Then something else, and some monetary gains, and some mentors. I mean, there will be sometimes repetition, but that's okay. I feel like I think you can't the pitfall is also how nuanced can you really get with understanding the stakeholder, right? Like you can go very, very deep into it, like within Bangalore, within Jayanagar, within that one street, people will have different things than say the street next to it. Now you can't go that level also, so whatever works for you at this point, but there will be some repetitions at different points of time. You have to keep sensing. Sense making is a big thing right now. Like you have to continuously sense where your stakeholder is at what point, what do they need. Maybe this mentor worked and something else is, so mentorship still works, but what kind of mentor at that level makes more sense then?
Okay. Move on to the next question from Doc. So, what are the key things to keep in mind when someone wants to start gamification in their own volunteering program? Maybe I can just share my 2 cents and then maybe we can go to the speakers. So, I think the first thing is, you should know your audience really well. The same gamification that Salesforce has done might not fit Atlassian. So, you should really know your audience well. And the second thing, what is that you're trying to achieve through gamification? Like a corporate gamification is very different. All that we want to do is enable people and mobilize people to go and give back to non-profits. So our way of looking at gamification is very different. Whereas Pooja's, when Reap Benefit looks at gamification, it's very different. They're trying to solve a problem through gamification. So knowing how exactly what you're trying to solve through gamification is very, very important. Now,
Half of it I've already mentioned. So things to keep in mind to make sure that your gamified approach aligns with your vision. Like he mentioned, what are you focused on? What is your organization focused on? You have to keep in mind that that is addressed by this model. That's the first thing. And when we go into the second part of it, when we talk about the rewards part of it, finding that balance between fun and engagement that is meaningful, that's really, really important. It's so easy to get lost there as well. And in terms of rewards, what I think have learned from is that, so there are 2 kinds of rewards, right? One is that we're talking about t-shirts, bottles, something material that you can take away, right? But we do have passionate employees who comes back and say, hey, what do I do with so many t-shirts? I don't want a t-shirt. I can buy a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt, and if it's not for it, I can get t-shirts anywhere else. I am working with an organization. What can I do for them? Give me a reward that shows me impact, right? That's where our impact grants come in place, where you say, hey, here is a $500 grant that can go out to a non-profit that you're passionate about. That is a reward. That is a reward where they have a story, they see their impact right away, and that sticks. And I think that kickstarts their impact journey as well. That's what we're trying to do. We trying to enable these employees to kickstart their impact journey, and most of the time, 85% of the time, they pick it up and they continue. And I don't think you have to go back and then keep at it. But once they see the impact that they create, that will continue. I think that's important to keep in mind.
You spoke about journey, so I'll just add on. So in traditional volunteering system, you have a volunteer, you have a problem that you're trying to solve, and you use traditional methods to solve that problem. To get that volunteer, solve that problem. In gamification, it's the same. You have a volunteer, you have a problem. You're just putting in some methods, like a journey, which is very different, which is very modern to that. So end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem. So your, entire gamification has to revolve around the problem, on how to get that problem solved.
Yeah. Just one last point. I mean, just to add to this is, I think when you think of rewards, think from a long-term point of view as well. Like I think you have a set of 10 volunteers right now. Oh, these things will work for them. Let me get something expensive or something that's available very uniquely. But think about like 2 months, 3 months down the line, this might become 100 volunteers, and then that level, does it still make sense? Can I still afford it from a monetary point of view, from a procurement point of view as well? So I think thinking long term also really helps in figuring out the gamification system.
Awesome. Doc, did we answer your question? Perfect.
One last thing, I'll close it here with revamping your model at least every 2 years is really important. I say 2 years because when you launch a new model of gamification or anything for that sake, you at least take about 6 to 8 months for adoption, given the size of your team. It could be 3 months, 5 months. So you take another year to look at the implementation of it and how effective and efficient it is. And then you take up those results and start working towards how do we improve it. So constantly improving on what you have developed is also really important. Otherwise, it will become another traditional method that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Doc has a very interesting question. How do you deal with people who are trying to cheat the system? Like, gamification, it's fully based on trust, right? Like, I'm not going and verifying if people really have done those actions. Like, how do you deal with such things? Like, you want to share your perspective?
So we have two methods. To start with, to be really frank, it's called volunteering for a reason, right? You don't want to go after people, with a whip and say, "Hey, you got to do it." But people do it for the reward. So we have something called admin approvals now in place in our system, where after the activity, there is a person who's looking at the participants, and then your volunteering hours, whatever you're tracking, gets approved. And only if it's matched with the activity that happened and the connections, and then we try to make it. But we're not very, to be frank, we're not very strict on that yet. We're trying to see, I think the percentage is very, very minimal, and but single digit numbers maybe in terms of percentage. But yeah, we do have something in place to curb that as well.
Pooja, is there any way you deal with this?
I think one, we, like Tataji also said, we're not that strict about these things because at the end it's their agency. So if they are interested in activating their agency, they will take action and then it will lead to something and then you see that. However, at the same time, we do unlock different opportunities for them, and then that means that we or somebody else is putting their word out there for a change maker and sort of vouching for it. So how do we verify it? So something I'd shown earlier was a change maker portfolio. So in that, they put in actions on the chatbot and it gets showcased on that portfolio, and that's been verified either by their mentor, by us as an organization. It could be the institution they are coming from, say a college or another CSO. So they also sort of verify that, and then you get a tick in it, so it's verified. So person who's providing some kind of support to them, specific, it becomes much more important when money is involved. So then that gives them some confidence, okay, this is being verified. Then there are certain reviews also we are adding. So whoever, the mentor or other organization where they have interned, etc., whoever's worked with them, they can add reviews to their Changemaker portfolio, where they can talk about the work that they have done, skills that they have activated. So these are few things in which we are trying to.
Yeah. I think the whole point of volunteering itself is, that people come and create impact. We can have very simple checks and balances, but we really can't enforce checks and balances. I think, it's all based on trust. So I think did we answer your question, Doc? Okay. I think the last question, again, very interesting question from Karthi. When to stop gamifying, where to stop, and any suggestions on this?
When to stop gamifying? I think we don't have enough examples to decide whether we stop it or not. As of now, it's working, and I think as an industry, we're still adopting the entire model. Not a lot of entities or companies have brought it up. Like Atlassian is coming up with very soon, and few of the brands are bringing in, and we see it's working. So I think it will take another few years before we decide, will we move out from this model or not?
Awesome. Pooja, you?
I don't know. I think so there's something called as thick and thin engagement that we, when you mobilize communities on ground, or you run, or you're trying to build a movement on certain aspect, there's something called as thick engagement and thin engagement. There'll always be people who are on the peripheries of it. They are only supporting somebody, or I'll play a smaller role. And there'll be some people who are leading the whole thing at the forefront. So you need a leader, you need a follower, and different people at different times will take those roles in that system. So that will continue happening. There's one example. There's this youth, his name is Lalit, and he's been with us for 8 years, and he sort of designed a tool called Street Audit, which basically there's a tool that allows you to understand your street better, what are the problems that exist, and then based on that, see what you want to solve for. He designed the tool, it took a year, he did incorporate tech in it, made it very fancy, and then sort of gave up on it. And then somebody else, the other people sort of kept using it. And then one fine day, after 7-8 months, he bumped into somebody in our office, and they came and told him, like, listen, this street audit tool is such useful thing. Like, all the youth that I am working with, they are really finding it exciting. And then he said, like, okay, why did I stop it? And then that was his incentive at that point. Now he's taken it to another level where the data he's collected through street audits is being used by IIT Bombay to make recommendations to urban ministry and all of that. So you never know when to stop, when to start. You have to. That's why again I keep coming back to, at least in the work that we do, sensing and understanding where youth are at different point. One is being okay that it's going to be waxing and waning, and second is keep sensing where they are and sort of give them those nudges.
I think, Karthi, when I look at it like a university. Like, there are volunteers who come, they do their job in, they follow their journey, volunteering journey, and they graduate. For example, so the entire point of having these gamification system is you encourage people to graduate to a higher level. Like, for example, in Salesforce language, maybe a trailblazer. And once you become a trailblazer, you have created so much of impact that will make you stick. So, and I don't think the milestone program or the rewards program is going to be a motivation for you. So I think the program will just be there. But I think when people come and when people exit is going to be the norm. Yeah. Awesome. I think you have Karthi, again, you have a last question. You have one question. Is there any failed cases of gamification, like a study on it? According to me, I don't think. There are very, very few organizations, which are doing gamification right now. The pain I went through while getting speakers for this session. So yeah, it's very handful of them. Especially in India, I can count it with my fingers. Like, it's those many numbers. So I don't think there is still a model, and I don't think this model will fail. It's a very, very powerful model. In the volunteering space, we are bringing it for the first time, so we have a lot of questions. But if you see, a lot of companies already use it, like Starbucks use it, a lot of airline companies use it. So it's still running successfully. They all have these loyalty programs. So I think this model will be there. What do you think? And then we can close.
I agree with you. I think we haven't seen any failure models. In fact, before implementing this model to us at Salesforce, we've used the same model on our Trailhead. If some of you must have seen it, Trailhead is our learning platform where any users can learn Salesforce technology for free. So as you learn, you have the same kind of gamified approach where you earn rewards, earn points to reach certain levels. You have a ranger status when you achieve 50,000 points. By then you would have already learned a lot of technology that required. So a lot of people who are trying to come into Salesforce ecosystem, so they go to Trailhead and start learning. So that has really worked. That Trailhead, the ecosystem is huge, really, really big. Few millions of people are learning on that platform, and it's been working really well. So I think that's how we've adopted a similar model for volunteering as well, and it's been working well for us.
So, Pooja, you want to? Okay, perfect. I think this was such a wonderful panel discussion, and I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I think all of you also will agree with me. I think gamification is something very, very unique, and we all should be bringing gamification into our volunteering programs, and this can really bring in a lot more people into the volunteering ecosystem. And I'm sure you'll be having a lot of questions, but whenever you want, I think you can feel free to write to us or let us know. If you want any information, and I'm sure the speakers will be happy to share information. Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much, the team, for organizing this.
We planted 4 trees.